I told you at the beginning, the Bible tells us that Jesus is the Messiah, and nobody else can possibly be the Messiah. I said that to you. I said, there, right now, in history, nobody else can be the Messiah. It's not possible. It can't happen according to Scripture. And this is what I was alluding to. Daniel chapter 9 demonstrates that nobody else can be the Messiah. Why am I saying that? Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, I am not going to unpack all the 70 weeks. All I will tell you is this. Yes, this text tells you when the Messiah is coming. I'm going to do a sermon on it at Apologia Church this coming Sunday. Be on the lookout for that. I did a little bit of it in my last sermon on the Olivet Discourse. But here's what the text says. Watch. 70 weeks are decreed about your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, and to atone for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint the most holy. So there's a scope to this prophecy. What's it about? We're going to make an end of sin. We're going to make atonement. We're going to bring an everlasting righteousness within this space of time. Now, I believe there's a countdown clock made. You're told by the angel when to start counting down, and it lands on Jesus' baptism. Again, I'm not going to do it today, but that is actually what takes place. God tells you when to start counting, and it lands on Jesus. Why do you think that in the first century there is this fervor? Who's the Messiah? Where's the Messiah? You the Messiah? Is he the Messiah? Who's the Messiah? Who's the Messiah? Where's he at? Why is there the fervor in the first century about where's Messiah? Here's why. Daniel 9. They could count, and they understood that they were in the days of the Messiah. So they're looking. Who's the Messiah? Are you the Messiah? Where is the Messiah? Somebody here is the Messiah. Because they can count. And they know this is all coming to a climax now. But here's what you need to know about Daniel when he wrote this. There is no temple. It has been destroyed. They are now in exile to Babylon. That's why he's praying. He's grieving. Why? Because Israel is so sinful. Because they can't take anybody's sins. Because they're so broken and in exile now being judged by God. God's destroyed the temple. There isn't a temple. Daniel's pleading before God, please forgive your people. And then along comes the angel Gabriel. Here's what's going to take place, Daniel. 70 weeks to do what? Put an end to sin, atonement for iniquity, everlasting righteousness. All that's there. And so he says, from the going forth of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, there shall be. And then you start counting down. But here's what it says in the text. Verse 26. And after the 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off. Recognize that word? Where else do we see that a second ago? Isaiah 53. But what's he cut off for in Isaiah 53? For the transgressions of God's people. What's Daniel chapter 9 say? That he's going to be cut off. What's that word? It's the same word to describe the animal sacrifices. It's describing a violent death. Who said that the Old Testament doesn't teach that the Messiah dies for the sins of God's people? How many times does God have to say it in the Torah and the Tanakh for us to actually believe that it takes place? But here's what it says. After 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off and shall have nothing. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. I believe that's describing the result of this prophecy is that the temple is going to be destroyed by the Roman armies. But all that aside, say you don't buy that. What does this teach? Imagine for a moment now, follow me now, stay with me. Is there a temple when Daniel wrote this? See, I already said it to you. You can yell out to me. Let's pretend like you guys are Pentecostal for a day, okay? Is there a temple when Daniel wrote this? There's no temple. Daniel's pleading before God because they're in exile and being judged for their sin. There is no temple. There is no sanctuary. So this is what's being told. All this stuff's going to happen. Atonement for iniquity, everlasting righteousness. All this is going to happen. Messiah is going to be cut off. And then the temple, the sanctuary is going to be destroyed. And you go, this is written about 600 years before Jesus. And there is no city and sanctuary to speak of. Which means what? This is also a prophecy of the rebuilding of the second Jewish temple. But what does it say? That the Messiah is going to die a violent death before the destruction of the second temple. Remember I told you nobody else can be the Messiah? I tell this story often. I'll give you the quick one. I go to an event in Scottsdale, Arizona many years ago with an organization called Jews Against Jesus. I saw the ad in a newspaper. It's a rabbi who's going to prove that Jesus isn't the Messiah. It's in a synagogue. I was like, hey, Jesus grafted me into Israel. I'm the true Jew, so shalom, I'm going. So I show up with my Bible and backpack and some friends. I got to wear the yarmulke. It was awesome. I go inside. About a 2-hour talk this rabbi gave, and he didn't address any of the issues. So after it was all finished and done, one of the things we all noticed is that we were the only ones in the synagogue with Bibles, the only ones. Everybody kept looking back at us all weird because we're carrying Bibles. They're looking down at our Bibles, looking at us and look Bible, like Bible, you weird Christian, Gentile. What are you doing with the Torah? Like, you know, it was like, where's your Torah, bro? So after it's all done, I walk down to the front where the rabbi was, and every Jewish person there descends upon us because this is about to go down. Here's this young punk Christian that's going to talk to the rabbi and just get thrashed. So I walk up to the rabbi, try to be very respectful. I said, Rabbi, thank you for allowing me to come tonight and for us to be here. He said, of course. I said, I appreciate it. I said, I am curious, how come you didn't actually deal with any of the prophecies in the Torah, the Tanakh, that Christians have used, Jewish Christians have used for 2,000 years to prove Jesus is the Mashiach? He said, no, young man, I dealt with all of them. I said, Rabbi, you didn't deal with any one that I would use. And he said, well, like what? I said, I don't know where to start. I mean, Daniel 9. He said, well, what about it? I said, well, Daniel 9, the prophecy is the Messiah comes, dies a violent death before the destruction of the second temple. I said, Rabbi, when was the second temple destroyed? He said, well, a young man, everyone knows it was destroyed in 70 AD. I said, right. I said, so Rabbi, if Jesus isn't Mashiach, who is? And so I had to give him my Bible. He opens it to Daniel 9. He starts looking through and scanning, and he's looking through, and he's pointing out. He's like, okay, or Daniel, okay, yeah, cut off, and okay. And now you should have seen the faces of everyone surrounding us. They were just so delighted that we're going to see this Christian get smashed. Like, just wonderful. They're just sort of like drooling and seething and like, just watch. This is so wonderful. This Christian's going to get thrashed. Gentiles. You know. And so amazingly, he looks up at me and he says, tell you what, give me your email address. I'll get back to you on this. And he never did. Because there isn't an answer. There isn't a coherent answer. The text is plain. Here's the time frame. Here's the purpose of the prophecy. This is what's going to be accomplished. And Messiah is going to be cut off. And the destruction of the temple.